Welcome back, everybody, to another show of Connected Brains with your host, Saurav Bhatia. I have a special guest here today who's spent in the crypto industry for a while. Let me bring him in. His name is Wei Li. But before I bring him in, a quick disclaimer. What we present here is all like educational advice. This is not investment advice. Don't take this and start putting your hard-earned money without doing your own research. And with that kind of context, let me bring in Wei Li. Hey, Wei Li, it's really nice to have you on the show. I'm sure the guests have a lot to learn from your insights. Maybe we'd start with, a bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into this.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. So my journey really started in traditional finance. I worked for banking for around 10 years, just doing project delivery in the technology space for banks. And then I kind of wanted a change. So I went into a different area. I went to management consulting, and that was about 2015. And that time, blockchain wasn't really a known thing. It was more early stage. And so I was lucky. I was happened to be gotten involved with a project regarding blockchain, and it was for a bank, and it was coming up with different use cases regarding blockchain technology for the bank. And that was my first taste of blockchain and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and then the buzzwords smart contracts came about. And ever since then, I've been really interested in the space, and I've kind of tried to keep myself involved with the developments of what's happening in crypto since then.
That's awesome, right? Like it's nice when you get to start off on something new early days, get to enjoy it, and over time craft your career into that. Do you have some insights into how the early days of crypto were like? Because you see a lot of people getting into it in the last maybe 6 months, a year, but I think you've been there since the kind of early crypto winter days of before 2016, 2017, and then seeing that through. So how was some of that like for you?
I think the first thing was kind of hearing about blockchain is going to change the world, is the new internet, and then sort of wrapping around how do I get myself involved with that. So there's the work side of it, which we have engagements with clients, and then we're doing use cases, and we're coming up with proof of concepts. Then there's the personal side of it, which is the investment side. So for the early days, I remember there wasn't many on ramps on how to get on board. There wasn't many crypto exchanges, and it wasn't a lot of information around what is a safer type of platform to sign up for and purchase crypto. So I had a lot of hoops to jump through just to even get my hands on crypto at that time. And now it's a lot better. There's so many reputable companies now getting involved, so there's a lot more on ramps. Getting your fiat into an exchange is a lot more easier. Banks are more open to dealing with crypto customers, whereas before it's kind of like you want to show what the institutions were, how they would view you if you were involved with crypto. So that was kind of the early days, and now it's becoming more mainstream, I find.
Yeah, I think financial institutions went through a phase where it was coined as it's bad to be in crypto, and I think they felt that customers who were in crypto, some of the firms took a decision to even offboard those customers. So yeah, it's hard to get your money in, hard to do stuff, but you stuck in there, right? And so look, full kudos to you. It's people like you who managed to keep the crypto dream going and actually get it through the crypto winter into some of the gains and increases that we're seeing now. So, maybe this show, what we were thinking was dig a little deeper into something that you've been doing, which is called yield farming. And I know that a lot of users don't know what it is. Maybe, if you could just kind of explain it from a very layman perspective, what it is and how should you go about it, and what are some of the things to do.
Sure. So when I first got into cryptocurrency, it wasn't for yield farming initially, and it's probably just I went into it because that's the development, that's the direction of how blockchains have gone. When I first got involved, it was more just holding crypto assets and then using it as a speculative investment. It was very volatile, up and down. Uh, and then I started doing because I was holding these assets. The space was evolving into lending. So these
Hmm.
exchanges, these crypto exchanges, these centralized platforms would offer a P2P lending within the platform. So I started doing that, and then how things have matured since is the decentralized nature of DeFi is come about. So then I was just uh, seeing the new protocols that were coming about, and at that time the gas fees were quite low, so it was easy to just try things out. And basically what these platforms allow is or they facilitate the same things that the centralized exchanges was doing, which was depositing, and then somebody else could lend your assets, and then you'll get a yield for that, an interest rate, which was much higher than a centralized or a bank deposit account. So then naturally, I just started moving towards that sort of area, and then in the last couple of years, there's been an explosion in the different types of DeFi protocols that are available now. So there's, pulled together, which is a new loss lottery type of system, and so I just try to get involved with anything that's new that's popping up. Even today, I'm just spent a few hours trying to set up my Cello address. So
Yep.
Cello is another new protocol that's just popped up. They've been in the works for a few years. I was kind of seeing them around, and today, there's a lot of Twitter talk about them. So I'm kind of jumping up, trying to figure out how to get involved with the seller network. And the reason for that is because the APY is 40% on
Wow.
that. So, yeah, it's a pretty good return, and if you
Yep.
put in the effort and you jump in, or what we call in DeFi ape in,
Yep.
then there's benefits, and so that's what I kind of get involved with these days.
That sounds quite exciting, right? Like, and of course, when you're new to it, you need to be careful about understanding
Mm.
which project, which network you get into. Wei spends a lot of time, kind of researching a lot of that. Like he said, he'd been following this for a while, and is starting to see like traction now, and get into it. So maybe that leads me to my next question, right? So as you get into yield farming, which is really around taking certain tokens and either providing liquidity or providing it as margin ahead for lending, you get a return. But what are the type of risks that people are taking when they get into this type of activity?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of risks involved. So it's not really for a lot of people that are very risk adverse. So for me, I'm kind of like that type of person that's probably more willing to take risks than the average user or investor. So when I look at the protocols, I always look at if it's a legitimate team that's involved. A lot of these projects are anonymous, and a
Yep.
lot of the anonymous protocols is that's where you see a lot of the hacks happening.
Hmm.
So you got to be aware of that because hacks do happen. I've been affected by it as well. So
Yep.
when you see things that are giving you 1 million API, you know
Yep.
I have put money into that. I gotta admit, but I kind of know that there's a strong chance that there's going to be a rug pull. So
Yeah.
I'm not putting lots of money into it, but I'm still aware that there's a strong possibility of a rug pull happening. So definitely an anonymous team. Uh, if it's a decentralized protocol, then I look for if it's been audited by
Yeah.
reputable audit firms, uh, and then also if others in the industry or in the crypto sphere are involved with it. So there's big names um, that are dedicated full time to DeFi, and if they are sort of behind the projects, then that's a strong signal for me also that it's something I can get on board with. Um, and it's not always just DeFi. If it's
Yeah.
centralized and it's got a decent return, it's got a decent uh, track record. The team founder has built stuff. It's kind of known in the tech industry. Then I'll get behind that as well. And yeah, like there's a certain dollar amount that I'm willing to put into the more risky projects, and then
Yeah.
there's the safer ones which I allocate more of my yield farming funds to.
Nice.
So
So you have a interesting strategy which kind of makes sense to me as well, right? Like, so look at the team that's behind
yeah,
it. If you don't know the team, then try not to get into it. Um, Find out, are they giving atrociously absurd returns? Because if somebody's doing that, something's not right. Try and do your homework on that. I think, like you said, it's not just DeFi; it's also staking and governance and other kind of aspects of where some of these tokens are needed. And I think what struck me, for me personally, was risk management. Right? Like eventually, you're saying, the size of the money that you put should be linked to how risky that proposition is. So if it's very risky, maybe put a little amount. Stuff that you're okay to lose, even if you want to try it out, but only put like more and more if you're sure about the project. And I think like ease into this, right? Like this is not for the faint-hearted. This is definitely something you want to get into it slowly, learn and figure out where or how you're doing stuff.
yeah, and that's kind of where I've had the luxury because I've kind of been involved for a few years now. So I've developed that risk mindset
Mm.
over a few years.
Nice. So, I think you touched upon this a bit, but like what type of returns can one expect? And, like the way I would look at it is returns and risk go hand in hand, right? Like nobody will give you high returns for low risk. So how should somebody who's new in this space or trying to discover it look at it, right? Are they talking like, because if you look at a bank account, right, the bank account's giving you, depending on which country you're in, 0.5%,
Yeah.
1%, 0%. So how do new incomers kind of come in and understand that?
Okay, so I think for the first thing is a lot of these protocols in crypto now it's and the lending is around USD. So if
Hmm.
you're coming from a country which is in AUD, Hong Kong dollars, Singapore dollars, then you first gotta decide if you want to convert some of that fiat into USD.
Yeah.
So there's a forex kind of you know thing that you have to take into consideration. So that's the first step. If you're willing to actually hold some USD, if you believe that USD is not going to crash, then you get some USD first, and
Yeah.
then once you've got the USD, that's when you put it into these crypto platforms. So that's the first hurdle. And I find out a lot of my friends, because I'm from Australia, and most of my friends don't hold USD, so
Yeah.
that automatically rules them out of this whole scene.
Yeah.
But once you've gotten across that hurdle, then the interest rates are definitely more than the bank account. So bank accounts, I don't think there's anywhere really that gives you more than 1% at the moment.
Hmm.
But with crypto, it also depends on the bull markets and the bear markets. So during a bear market, it could be 2 to 4%, which is still very good compared to a bank account.
Hmm.
But in a bull market, it can, as I said earlier, the seller is 40% at the moment. If you get into the right protocols and if you do yield farming, there's 40%. So it ranges, I think, between 2 to 40%.
That's quite interesting and aggressive. I mean, again, I've seen a few of these funds which will go up to like 100, 150, but that's just when the project is new. They're trying to get either liquidity or money behind it. I think the higher the return, the more cautious you should get as you go into it. So yeah, I think it's an interesting one. So kind of manage your risk. Figure out which projects you want to go for. Figure out your position sizing, and then start getting into this, right? So if somebody's, again, I'm taking this from somebody's new, doesn't know what to do, and again, this is not investment advice in any shape or form. What are some of the tokens that they should start with? Should they just start with like getting USDT or USDC type of tokens, which is still just stable coin, and giving it out, or should they look at certain other types of thing, Bitcoin, Ethereum, that they want to do something with? Where should they start?
Okay, so I think a lot of people are kind of attracted to high returns, right? Because that's kind of why yield farming, 100%, 50%, 200% returns. But people got to be aware that those types of returns are mostly around tokens. So
Mm-hmm.
you could, and then you kind of pair them up and you provide liquidity. But then there's impairment loss that happens from that, because you could buy a token that's like $10 to start off with, get a 100% interest rate, but then a month later it drops 90%. The token drops 90%. So now it's like $1. So you're kind of losing money actually. So people gotta be aware. You don't necessarily have to buy a token to get into DeFi. You can get into stable coins, which is what I'm mostly involved with. So I try to stay away from volatile digital assets. I do hold Ethereum, Bitcoin, but then some of the other altcoins, I don't really I get involved with that. I was there with the ICOs, altcoins, alt season, and so I've seen coins drop from 90% in less than a few months. So I think for the new starters, probably the best bet is try to look at stablecoins. USDC is a reputable one. It's probably the easier one to get into. USDT is also pretty popular. There's algorithmic stablecoins which are backed by Ethereum, so you can get DAI. So if you're already holding Ethereum, you can provide that as collateral. You get some DAI. You can use the DAI then to invest into the various DeFi protocols. But I would stick to the bigger names such as USDC to start off with.
So just to recap, right? Like you're basically saying you could hold money in your local currency, could be Sing dollar, Aussie dollar, but if you make the plunge to move it to US dollar, then you move it from US dollar to a crypto version of it, which could be either USDC, USDT, like I said, DAI, and then you use this money and then move it to a place where somebody is willing to offer more for it, right? So in a situation like this, I guess one part of the risk is it's not like, well, there's some risk you take with the stable coin. So USDC or USDT could be impacted. But the main risk you're taking is around the counterparty that you have given your stable coin to, right? So how does somebody manage that counterparty risk, right? How do you make sure that you're going with reputable players that you give your money to?
So I think that's your own sort of mindset you have to overcome, because when you do change your fiat currency to crypto assets, you have to trust a third party. So in the case of USDC, it's issued by Circle, I believe. They're a centralized financial institution. They accept fiat, and then in turn they provide, or they mint stablecoin USDC. And if you ever want to return to fiat, then you got to go through the same process. You got to rely on that counterparty, that third party, to give you back your USDC. So it's kind of like you have to go through your own due diligence for the company and see if they've done audits, and then you have to decide if that's a risk you're willing to take.
Fair enough. So, as you looked at the information that you processed, I know you mentioned, looking at Twitter, looking at certain sites. What are some of your kind of favorite go-to news sources, and how do you kind of process that information on your side?
So it used to be Reddit.
Yeah.
Reddit back in the early days was really heavily a lot of good information discussion happening around different projects. But now I kind of navigate more towards Twitter. So
Hmm.
Twitter's easy. You can just check it multiple times a day, and then whatever trending topics usually shows up my feed. So
Yeah.
a lot of the times now it's like I'm seeing NFT. NFT is
Yeah.
huge. Like so much stuff about NFTs popping up on my Twitter. So you know that's a big trend that's happening in DeFi or crypto. So then that would prompt me to look more into and do my own research around NFTs, crypto punks, uh, and then protocols like OpenSea, where you can, which is the marketplace to buy NFTs. So that kind of is how I kind of get aware of the new things in crypto. And then also when new layer one or side chains pop up, layer two, they kind of pop on Twitter as well. They start to trend. So like things like Celo,
Yeah.
Avalanche, Phantom, those are things that are kind of trending at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's a way for me to to look further into it. Yeah, by going from
Interesting.
Twitter.
So, one of the themes that I've kind of felt through our conversation today as well. You spend a lot of time reading, researching, and then acting, and I think that's an important tip for people. Don't just jump right in. Don't just say, "Oh, I saw something on Twitter, I bought it." Take your time. There are many. Like I tell some other people, right? There are many trains coming, many trains. Even if this one leaves, there's another one like 10 minutes later. So, just take it easy, do your research, find your network of people or sites or things that you can process, and then slowly ease yourself into it. And it's an interesting community. I think there's enough information out there for people to find. So maybe moving on to something slightly different, right? So what's your typical day like, as you work through things?
Typical day, I'm sort of I wake up, I make my coffee. First thing in the morning, do my coffee, and then I log on and I check Twitter. I
Nice.
check Twitter. I see what's trending. If there's any hacks, or if there's something I need to look into, straight away. And then my mind's at ease. And then I'll start looking at things like the interest rates in the various platforms that I'm involved with. So I check out sites like LoanScan, DeFi rate, just to make sure that the interest rates haven't moved too big.
Yeah.
If it has, then I kind of move things around, uh, and then I go and then I check YouTube. So I go
Hmm.
into my YouTube and I check the various crypto influencers that start talking about project because they summarize things really well. So rather
Yeah.
than me going to the different news sites, you get bite-sized information in 10 minutes, and
Yeah.
then you're kind of up to date with what's happening because they already do the hard work for you. And then then I'll just keep an eye out for new things that are happening that day, and I'll try to do my own research around that. So today it's around Celo, so I'm spending a lot of my day today looking into that, and tomorrow might be something else.
Yeah.
That's my typical day.
Nice. Are there any people on YouTube that you recommend people watch? Like I like this guy from Coin Bureau. He does a lot of research. He's interesting. I don't know if there are any other people that you like.
So I watch a lot of Alcoin Daily,
Yeah, I like them.
uh, uh, and then Benjamin Cowell.
Yeah, maybe I think I've seen a video or two of his.
Yeah, and then I just kind of like whatever pops on my recommendations, I just click for that.
I think YouTube's like super good at that. Once it figures out
Yes.
what you like reading, it'll like bring
Yep.
you more and more of those type of people
Yeah.
or those type of content.
Yeah.
And yeah, like once you know the topic you're looking for, then you search it a few times and you'll be able to dig right into it, which is the cool
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
about it.
So that's how exactly how I go about it. And then if I
Nice.
found that a person is kind of like starting to shill or seems a
Yeah.
bit illegitimate, then I kind of just unsubscribe from those guys, or I give them a thumbs down. So I just make sure I keep getting good content for myself.
Yeah, which is a good thing. And I think you almost go through a curve of like people sometimes just putting just messier and messier content, and then you're like, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
So, if you were to give like tips to somebody, who's starting off, what are some of the tips that you'd want to give back and say, I would have loved to know this before I started?
I I gotta say it's probably around overcoming your own sort of aversions to risk.
Yeah,
So, you know, people see it as black and white, but it's not really. You could
yeah,
put $10 into some protocols. Pull together. It's a lottery system. Put ten
yeah.
dollars in there, you can have a chance of winning $1,000. Uh, so when I've talked to friends, family, a lot of them just see it as a black and white. I'm not, it's a scam. I'm not getting involved, but I would recommend that maybe just having a more just kind of jumping in, and in crypto we call it aping. So maybe
Hmm.
sometimes you gotta just ape in and kind of go with the flow, and not I'm not telling you to put in thousands of dollars, but just try small amounts and see if it works for you. If it doesn't, then don't continue. But if you get involved, start off with early, and then something you're interested in, you build on top of that, and that's kind of how I approach things.
Nice. Look, I think yeah, eventually everything is about like learn as you do. If you're unsure about things, very risk averse, my suggestion: stay away from crypto. There are
Definitely,
lots
yeah.
of other opportunities. For those of you who saw it in May, the crash, I think in like 2 hours, as the exchanges unwound leverage, the market fell 50%. I mean, it bounced up a bit, then bounced down again, then tried to go up and tried to go down. Like, if it's not for the faint-hearted. It definitely has a fair amount of ups and downs. I think, but if you can get past that, and I think that a good way to get past that is risk management. Like, put small chunks of money that you're willing to experiment with and learn from, rather than just trying to jump in all in and saying, here's my life savings, I bet the house or the farm on it. That kind of doesn't work out. Okay, another one, non-crypto question: what's your favorite productivity hacks?
Oh, I'm pretty bad at that sort of side of things. Non
Is it just
productivity.
coffee? Is it just coffee
Yeah,
and keep yourself going through the day?
coffee is a must. First thing in the morning, my brain doesn't work without coffee. So start off with good coffee. I got an espresso setup. I got good beans. So yeah, that's probably number one for me, definitely. Because after I have my coffee, that first hour afterwards, I'm kind of knocking things out, getting up to speed of what's happening overnight. So yeah, just and then gym. Take time out, go to the gym, take a break from the computer. Get out there, walk around, and then you come back and your mind's fresh.
That's true. Like I was reading a few of these books where somebody said he doesn't like to go to the gym in the morning because he's like, I've had my coffee, I feel fresh. And then around the afternoon, I like to go to the gym because, by that time I'm starting to get tired, and, working out for 30 minutes or an hour like gives me that boost of energy. And then I can go all the way through till the evening or the night.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think adding that gym into your routine makes a big difference, keeps you going, keeps your body healthy and your mind fresh. Okay, one last question to try and see how we can wrap some of these things up, right? So, what do you think the world will look like in 5 years? I know you've been on the crypto journey for some time. You've been one of the pioneers in this process. And you see a lot of change, right? A lot more adoption, a lot more people jumping on. So, what do you think could things be, whether it's 5 years or 10 years out?
Okay, so in terms of the crypto space, what I think is gonna happen next few years is I was there when it was a lot of talk around use cases. So a lot of financial institutions, maybe not a lot, but a few institutions would be interested in what are the use cases for blockchain and how can we apply it to our business. And then that probably lasted for 2-3 years, and nothing really came from that, from those use cases. But the use case that kind of stuck was DeFi, decentralized finance. So that's been huge. The number one use case for blockchain, I think, is decentralized finance, and that's going to continue. And we're going to get more complicated and more structured products within that space. And now I'm seeing NFTs. It's becoming a big use case. So that's probably the second biggest use case in blockchain at the moment, I'd say. DeFi, NFT, and then hopefully in the next 5 years, the traditional finance, the sort of big giants, the banking industries, they will get on board and they will really put in their practices, the use cases that were developed early on, 2015, 2016. So I'm hoping that in the next 5 years, that becomes part of mainstream business.
That's true. I think, like you said, lots of use cases. DeFi is definitely stuck. NFT is the next one. I think tokenization overall will start kicking in various shapes. I think still a bunch of problems to solve for the industry. I think scaling and transaction throughput is an important one. Identity, and how that plays out, especially around financial services or some of the other use cases. Will be
Definitely. So that's probably the big hurdle why things haven't progressed, because gas fees is ridiculous. It's kind of like, what is it now for Ethereum? It's like $50 to do a swap at the moment today, and you can't have that when a system processes thousands or needs to process thousands of transactions. So once layer 2 scaling comes in place, hopefully that would cause a lot of use cases to be able to be developed.
But interestingly, Solana or some of the other networks, and then Solana has been pumping a lot in price, promise to have that like higher throughput, low transaction fees. How do you see some of those other blockchains play out over time?
So it's a network effect. With Ethereum, they've got so many people in the ecosystem, developers. So it's kind of like, how do you overcome that with Solana, Phantom, Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, and how do you get that adoption from financial institutions? So I think Ethereum is going to be the one. And back in my early days, I was looking at everything, all coins, Neo, IOTA, and in the last few years, nothing's happened in that space. So that kind of shows to me, like, going forward, it's probably Ethereum is a safe bet. It's been around from the beginning, was strong then, it's strong now, it's getting strong every day. Layer 2 is coming. So why would you want to use something else when Ethereum's got that track record?
Sure. And I think, look, this is one of those spaces that nobody knows the answer. I think we're all like eagerly and actively watching the space on use cases, ideas, things, and I think it's an amazing journey to be on the side or involved in it in any shape or form and watching it grow as it comes.
Yep.
Okay. Any other kind of parting thoughts, Wei, for our viewers or anybody else?
I just mentioned like a lot of risks, so overcoming that hurdle. That's probably what I think cryptos and investing in crypto is about. It's really just risk management. Just see it as another instrument, in your investment portfolio. So that's really, if you can wrap your mind around risks, then that's really is what's gonna propel you into the crypto universe, I think.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. And it was good to have you on the show, Wei. I will kind of look forward to continuing our conversations as we go ahead and keep you involved in the journey. For our viewers, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, the bell icon. I write a newsletter as well. The link for that's down there. I'll kind of hook you up with that. Again, till next time. See you guys.